Welcome back to our channel.
Welcome to Learn English with Joynob. I am Julie.
And I am John.
If you want to improve your English, this podcast is perfect for you. So let's get started and make English learning easy. What are the words today, John?
The first word today is make up your mind. Then we will continue with bite the bullet, take a leap of faith, go the extra mile reflectively to grasp, put off something, come, get to the point, look on the bright side, break the ice, get the hang of it, see eye to eye, hit the nail on the head, and read between the lines.
Before moving on, I'd like to say today's word list consists of the words our followers wanted us to teach.
Great. We are looking forward to the words from our followers.
Okay, let's start with the first word. The first word is make up your mind. Make up your mind. Make up your mind is a phrase that means to decide something after thinking about it. When you make up your mind, it means you are choosing between options or deciding on a plan. It's often used when someone is taking too long to decide or when they're uncertain.
That's a great explanation, Julie. Here's an example sentence. I can't make up my mind about which movie to watch tonight. This means the person is confused and hasn't decided which movie to pick.
That's a common situation, John. Let me give another example. After weeks of thinking, Sarah finally made up her mind to accept the job offer. This shows Sarah spent some time thinking but has now made her decision to take the job.
Exactly. And sometimes we use this phrase to encourage or even push someone to decide. For instance, come on, make up your mind. We don't have all day. This means the person is taking too long to decide and you're asking them to hurry.
That's true, John. It can be friendly or firm, depending on how it's said. Now, let's explain how this phrase works in real life with more examples.
Sure. Here's one. Imagine you're at a restaurant and can't decide what to eat. Your friend might say, make up your mind already. The waiter is waiting to take your order.
That's a good one, John. Or let's say you're shopping for clothes and you're stuck between two outfits. You might say, I can't make up my mind. Should I buy the blue dress or the red one?
Perfect example, Julie. This phrase is also used in bigger decisions like career choices. For example, Jack needs to make up his mind about whether he wants to go to college or start working.
That's so true. It's not just for small, everyday decisions, but also for big, life-changing ones. Now, let's show how make up your mind can be used in a dialogue.
Have you made up your mind about what to do this weekend?
Not yet. I'm deciding between going to the zoo or visiting the art gallery.
Both sound fun, but you should make up your mind soon. Tickets might sell out.
You're right. Okay, I'll go to the art gallery. It sounds more relaxing. See how John was encouraging me to decide? And once I made up my mind, it felt easier to plan.
Yes, that's a great example. And here's a tip for our listeners. When you use this word, it shows you're talking about making a choice after thinking about it carefully.
That's a helpful tip, John. So, to our listeners, next time you're talking about deciding on something, use make up your mind. It's simple, natural, and very useful in English.
Definitely, Julie. And remember, practicing with phrases like this will help you speak more confidently.
That's right. Now, let's move on to our next word, bite the bullet. Bite the bullet. Bite the bullet is a phrase that means to do something difficult or unpleasant, even though you don't want to. It's often used when you have to face a challenge or take action because it's necessary.
That's a great definition, Julie. Let me give the first example. Emma didn't want to go to the dentist, but she had to bite the bullet and make an appointment. This means Emma didn't like the idea of going to the dentist, but she knew it was important, so she decided to do it anyway.
That's a really good example, John. Here's another one. Mark was nervous about giving a speech in front of the whole class, but he decided to bite the bullet and do it. This shows Mark felt scared, but he chose to face his fear and give the speech.
Exactly, Julie. This phrase is often used to talk about situations where you don't have a choice but to deal with something uncomfortable. It's like saying, you've got to face it and get it over with.
That's a great way to explain it, John. Here's one more example. The company wasn't doing well financially, so the manager had to bite the bullet and lay off some employees. This means the manager had to make a tough decision, even though it was unpleasant.
That's a good one, Julie. Now let's explain how this phrase can be used in everyday life. For example, imagine you have a big exam coming up and you don't feel like studying. You might say, I'll have to bite the bullet and start studying tonight.
That's so relatable, John. Or imagine you're feeling sick, but you don't like taking medicine. Someone might say, just bite the bullet and take the medicine. You'll feel better soon.
Exactly, Julie. This phrase works for both small and big challenges. Whether it's doing chores or making a major decision, bite the bullet is perfect for showing that you're taking action, even when it's hard. I can't believe I have to give a presentation tomorrow. I'm so nervous.
I know it's scary, but you'll just have to bite the bullet and do it.
You're right. I'll prepare as much as I can tonight and get through it.
That's the spirit. Once it's done, you'll feel so much better. In this dialogue, John is nervous about giving a presentation, but I encourage him to bite the bullet, meaning he should face his fear and do it anyway.
Exactly. And once you bite the bullet and get through something difficult, you often feel relieved and proud of yourself.
That's so true. So, to all our listeners, remember this phrase when you have to do something tough. It's a great way to express that you're ready to face challenges.
Absolutely. And practicing phrases like bite the bullet will make your English sound more natural and confident.
That's right, John. So, what's the next word we're going to teach?
Let's move on to take a leap of faith.
Take a leap of faith. Take a leap of faith? Take a leap of faith is a phrase that means to trust or believe in something, even when you're not completely sure about it. It's like taking a risk but hoping that things will work out well in the end. This phrase is often used when you have to make a decision that feels uncertain or when you're trying something new for the first time.
That's a perfect explanation, Julie. Let me give the first example. When Lisa decided to start her own business, she didn't know if it would succeed, but she took a leap of faith and quit her job. This means Lisa believed in her dream and took a chance, even though there was no guarantee it would work.
That's a great example, John. Here's another one. Moving to a new country was a big decision for Sam, but he took a leap of faith and started a new life there. This shows Sam trusted that his choice would bring good results, even though he was stepping into the unknown.
Exactly, Julie. Taking a leap of faith is about having courage when you don't know what's going to happen. It's like saying, I'll trust this idea even if I can't see the full picture right now.
That's so true, John. Let me give another example. Emma wasn't sure she was ready for a marathon, but she took a leap of faith and signed up for it. This means Emma trusted herself to take on the challenge, even though she wasn't 100% confident.
That's a great one, Julie. Here's another example. After hearing about a new recipe, James took a leap of faith and cooked it for his friends without trying it first. This shows James was willing to take a chance and hoped his cooking would turn out well.
That's so relatable, John. It shows that taking a leap of faith doesn't always mean doing something huge. It can be as simple as trying something new, like a hobby or a recipe. Let's talk about how we use this phrase in real life. Imagine someone is nervous about starting a new job. They might say, I'm not sure if I'll fit in, but I'm going to take a leap of faith and give it my best shot.
That's a great example. Or let's say someone wants to start learning a new language, but feels they might struggle. They could say, I've never studied French before, but I'll take a leap of faith and enroll in a class.
Exactly, John. Here's another one. Imagine you've always wanted to travel alone but feel a little scared. You might tell yourself, It's time to take a leap of faith and book that solo trip.
Yes, Julie. And sometimes, taking a leap of faith means trusting someone else. For example, I don't know much about this doctor, but I'll take a leap of faith and trust their advice.
That's a great point, John. It's about believing that things will work out, even when you're unsure. And remember, it's okay to feel nervous or scared when you take a leap of faith. That's what makes it so meaningful. Now, let's give our listeners a short dialogue to see how take a leap of faith can be used in a conversation.
I've been thinking about applying to a university abroad, but I'm scared I won't get accepted.
Why not take a leap of faith? Even if it's scary, you won't know unless you try.
You're right. I guess I'll give it a shot and see what happens.
Exactly. Sometimes the best opportunities come when we take a leap of faith and trust ourselves. In this dialogue, John feels uncertain about applying to a university abroad, but I encourage him to take a leap of faith. It means trusting himself and trying, even if he's nervous.
That's right, Julie. And this phrase is so useful in conversations because it's about finding courage and hope when you're unsure.
Absolutely, John. It reminds us that sometimes taking risks is how we grow and discover new opportunities.
To all our listeners, don't be afraid to take a leap of faith in your life. Whether it's trying something small or making a big decision, trust yourself and go for it.
That's great advice, John. So, are we ready to move on to the next word?
Yes. Let's talk about go the extra mile.
Go the extra mile. Go the extra mile. Go the extra mile is a phrase that means to put in extra effort to do something better than expected. It's about going beyond what is required or necessary, often to help others or achieve a goal.
That's a great definition, Julie. Here's an example. Sarah always goes the extra mile at work by staying late to finish her projects perfectly. This means Sarah doesn't just do her job. She puts in extra effort to make sure everything is done really well.
That's a fantastic example, John. Here's another one. The hotel staff went the extra mile by surprising us with a birthday cake during our stay. This shows that the staff went beyond their usual duties to make the guests feel special.
Exactly, Julie. This phrase is often used to praise someone for their dedication and effort. It's like saying, you're doing more than what's expected, and it's really appreciated.
That's so true, John. Let me add another example. Mark went the extra mile to help his friend by driving him to the airport at 4 a.m. This shows that Mark didn't have to do it, but he made an extra effort to support his friend.
That's a good one, Julie. Another example could be, the teacher went the extra mile to help her students by creating fun, interactive lessons to keep them engaged. This shows that the teacher went beyond the basics to make learning enjoyable.
That's a great point, John. This phrase is not only about hard work, but also about showing kindness, care, and commitment. Let's talk about some real-life situations where we can use go the extra mile. For example, imagine a friend who helps you study for an exam. They not only explain the concepts, but also prepare practice questions for you. You could say, "Wow, you really went the extra mile to help me prepare for this test."
That's a great example, Julie. Here's another one. Imagine a restaurant where the chef personally comes out to check if the customers are enjoying their meal. You might say, the chef really went the extra mile to ensure we had a great experience.
That's so true, John. Or let's say your coworker helps you finish a big project before the deadline, even though it's not part of their job. You might say, "Thank you for going the extra mile to help me out. I really appreciate it."
Exactly, Julie. And sometimes going the extra mile is about personal effort. For example, I want to go the extra mile in my presentation by adding creative visuals and examples to make it stand out.
That's a great one, John. It's about doing something that adds value or makes things better for yourself or others. Now, let's give our listeners a short dialogue to see how go the extra mile can be used in a conversation.
I'm thinking of organizing a party for my sister's birthday, but I want it to be really special.
Why not go the extra mile? You could add some personal touches, like her favorite decorations or a surprise gift.
That's a great idea. I'll make a slideshow with her childhood photos and play her favorite songs.
Perfect. When you go the extra mile, it makes everything so much more memorable. In this dialogue, John wants to plan a great party, and I encourage him to go the extra mile by adding personal touches. This makes the event extra special.
Exactly, Julie. This phrase is a great way to express the idea of doing something extra to make people feel appreciated or to make something stand out.
Absolutely, John. And to our listeners, remember, when you go the extra mile, people notice and appreciate your efforts. It's a wonderful way to show care and dedication.
That's right, Julie. So, to everyone listening, try to go the extra mile in your daily life, whether it's at work, at home, or even with friends. It can make a big difference.
Well said, John. Now, let's move on to the next word. Look on the bright side. Look on the bright side is a phrase that means to focus on the positive aspects of a situation, even when things aren't going as planned. It's about finding the good, no matter how challenging things may seem.
That's a great explanation, Julie. Here's an example. I know you're upset about losing the game, but at least we had fun playing together. Look on the bright side. This shows that even though the outcome wasn't ideal, there's something positive to focus on.
Exactly, John. Here's another example. The rain ruined our picnic, but look on the bright side. We got to spend the day indoors, playing games and chatting. This demonstrates how focusing on the positives can shift your perspective.
That's a great example, Julie. It's all about finding the silver lining. For instance, I didn't get the promotion I was hoping for, but look on the bright side. Now I can focus on developing new skills and growing in my current role.
Perfect, John. Look on the bright side helps us stay optimistic even when things don't go as expected. It's a reminder to see challenges as opportunities.
Absolutely, Julie. It's a great attitude to have. Here's another example. I missed my flight, but look on the bright side. I now have time to explore the airport and relax before the next one. This shows how a positive mindset can turn a frustrating situation into a better one.
That's a wonderful point, John. This phrase reminds us that things aren't always as bad as they seem, and a little positivity can go a long way. Let's talk about some real-life situations where we can use look on the bright side. For example, imagine you're stuck in traffic. Instead of getting upset, you could think, look on the bright side. I have extra time to listen to my favorite podcast.
Exactly. Or imagine it's a rainy day on your vacation. You could say, look on the bright side, we can visit all the indoor attractions and enjoy the museums.
That's a great one, John. Or let's say you're feeling overwhelmed with a project. Instead of stressing out, you could remind yourself, look on the bright side. I'm learning new things and improving my skills.
Yes, Julie. And sometimes looking on the bright side means focusing on the things we can control. For example, my team didn't win the game, but look on the bright side. We all had a great time, and we'll do better next time.
That's a perfect example, John. It's about staying positive and not letting setbacks get you down. Now, let's give our listeners a short dialogue to see how look on the bright side can be used in a conversation.
I'm so disappointed that I didn't get the job I applied for.
I know it's tough, but why not look on the bright side? Now you have more time to focus on your personal projects.
That's true. I can use this time to work on my portfolio and improve my skills.
Exactly. Sometimes things don't go as planned, but if you look on the bright side, you'll see there are still good things happening. In this dialogue, John is feeling down about not getting the job, but I encourage him to look on the bright side. It helps him see that there are positive opportunities, even in a disappointing situation.
Exactly, Julie. Look on the bright side is a helpful reminder to focus on the positives, even when life doesn't go the way we expect.
That's right, John. It's all about maintaining a positive perspective and finding the good in every situation.
Absolutely, Julie. So, to everyone listening, remember to look on the bright side in your daily life. It can make all the difference in how you handle challenges.
Well said, John. Now, let's move on to the next word. Reflectively. Reflectively is an adverb that means thinking carefully about something, usually in a thoughtful or serious way. It's when you take time to consider a situation or experience, often with a sense of reflection or introspection.
That's a great explanation, Julie. Here's an example. After the meeting, I sat down reflectively and thought about what I could have done better. This shows that the person is thinking deeply about their actions and how they can improve.
Exactly, John. Here's another example. She looked out the window reflectively, remembering all the good times she had in the city. This shows that the person is reflecting on past memories and contemplating them.
That's a perfect example, Julie. Reflectively is often used when someone is thinking about something important or looking back on an experience. For instance, he spoke reflectively about the lessons he learned from his travels.
Exactly, John. It's all about taking time to think deeply. Here's another example. The artist looked at the painting reflectively, considering whether it was complete. This shows that the artist is contemplating their work carefully before deciding it's finished.
That's a great example, Julie. Sometimes we use reflectively when we need to pause and process our thoughts before making a decision or drawing conclusions.
Let's talk about some real-life situations where we can use reflectively. For example, imagine after a difficult conversation with a friend, you might sit down and think reflectively about how you handled it and how you can improve in the future.
Exactly. Or imagine you've just completed a big project at work. You might sit down reflectively to evaluate what went well and what could have been done better.
That's a great one, John. Or let's say you've just finished a long day. You could take a moment reflectively to think about everything that happened, how you felt, and what you learned.
Yes, Julie, reflectively is often used when we take a moment to think back on experiences in order to understand them better or to gain insights. For example, she thought reflectively about the time she spent volunteering and how it impacted her life.
Exactly. Reflectively helps us grow and learn from our experiences by giving us the time to think deeply about them. Now, let's give our listeners a short dialogue to see how reflectively can be used in a conversation.
I'm feeling a bit lost after that meeting. It was a lot to take in.
Maybe you could sit down reflectively and think about everything that was discussed. It might help you process the information.
You're right. I'll take some time to think about the key points and figure out what I need to do next.
That's a great idea. Sometimes reflectively considering a situation helps us see things more clearly. In this dialogue, John feels overwhelmed by the meeting, but I encourage him to think reflectively about what was discussed. This helps him process everything more clearly.
Exactly, Julie. Reflectively thinking about a situation allows us to understand it better and make better decisions moving forward.
That's right, John. So, to everyone listening, don't be afraid to pause and think reflectively. It can give you valuable insights and help you grow.
Absolutely, Julie. So take some time to reflect in your daily life. It can make a big difference in how you handle challenges and decisions.
Well said, John. Now, let's move on to the next word, grasp. Grasp means to understand something clearly or fully. It's when you finally get it after thinking about it or learning it. You can also grasp something physically, like when you take hold of an object. So, it's used in two ways: to understand an idea or to physically hold something.
That's a great explanation, Julie. Here's an example. It took me a while to grasp the concept of how photosynthesis works in plants, but after studying it, I finally understood. This shows that it took some time, but eventually the person understood the idea completely.
Exactly, John. Here's another example. When I first tried learning how to play the guitar, I didn't grasp the chords right away, but with practice, I got it. This shows that the person didn't understand at first, but with effort and time, they gained a full understanding.
That's a great one, Julie. Sometimes grasp is used when you understand something quickly. For example, he grasped the importance of the new safety rules right away. This means the person understood the rules immediately without needing much explanation.
Yes, John. Grasp can also be used when you physically hold something. For example, she grasped the book tightly so it wouldn't fall. This shows she held the book in her hands.
Exactly, Julie. So, grasp is a very useful word because it can be used when you mentally understand something or when you physically take hold of something. Another example could be, I had trouble with the math problem at first, but after a few tries, I grasped the method.
Perfect, John. So whether you're talking about understanding something or physically holding it, grasp is a word that helps us talk about fully taking something in, either in our minds or with our hands. Let's think about real-life situations where we can use grasp. For example, imagine you're learning how to bake a cake. At first, you might not understand all the steps, but eventually you grasp how to mix the ingredients and bake it perfectly.
Exactly. Or let's say you're teaching someone how to drive. After some practice, they will grasp how to steer, brake, and follow the rules of the road.
That's a great one, John. Or imagine you're learning a new language. It can be hard at first, but once you grasp the vocabulary and grammar, speaking becomes much easier.
Yes, Julie. And sometimes grasp is about understanding a difficult idea. For example, he didn't grasp the meaning of the poem at first, but after reading it again, it made sense.
Exactly. Grasp helps us understand when we finally figure something out or get a full picture of what's going on. Now, let's give our listeners a short dialogue to see how grasp can be used in a conversation.
I'm struggling with this new software at work. I just don't get how it works.
It might take some time, but once you grasp the basics, it will be much easier.
That's true. I'll keep practicing until I understand it fully.
That's the way. Once you grasp the main features, you'll feel more confident using it. In this dialogue, John is having difficulty with new software, but I encourage him to stick with it until he grasps the basics. Once he understands it, things will get easier.
Exactly, Julie. Grasp is a great word to use when you talk about fully understanding something, whether it's a skill or a concept.
That's right, John. So, to everyone listening, remember that with practice and patience, you'll eventually grasp what seems difficult at first.
Absolutely, Julie. So take your time to learn and grasp new concepts. Understanding will come.
The remaining words will be discussed in detail in the next episode.